Hello, dear friends. Welcome back. Thanks for coming by. So, let me talk to you today about ownership. Ownership, the idea of ownership conveys an absolute authority and prerogative. And that is the idea in Psalms 24 and 1. The scripture said, "The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world and those who dwell therein." So this is a possessive, it's an ownership thing. And the entirety of Scripture affirms God's prerogative and God's authority and God's ownership. It's absolute, but it's not like how we would own something. And it's important that we separate the two. See, He doesn't own things to use them, He doesn't own things to use them up or because He needs them. In this sense, it's simply God owns something in terms of His pleasure and His love for something. So it's very different than what we would consider owning. God doesn't own a car, and He doesn't own you, but He loves you, and He has this responsibility and this deep sense of responsibility for what He's created. And God's demeanor towards His possessions, if you would, or what owns Him, His property, is always characterized by grace and truth. This is also widely affirmed in the Scriptures. He takes it as it is and graciously interacts with it for its good. He doesn't have a denial problem. God sees every issue. He sees everything at the most granular level, all the nitty gritty details, and He involves Himself with all of those details in the most gracious way possible. Probably most of the time we don't even see how graciously kind God is and how graciously thoughtful He is towards us, but that's His demeanor. This is what Psalms 24 is trying to say. The earth is the Lord's, and He cares, He protects, He loves, He nurtures, He engages it, He sees it all, understands it all, and He gets involved in it in loving, gracious ways. And God can do anything, but grace always informs what He does. And the implications of this beautiful and mysterious behavior towards His creation has a lot of implications for our lives. And so let me remind you of just one, and this is probably my favorite in light of God's possessive ownership, caring ownership of the earth and everything in it. Aren't 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? This is what Luke asks. Luke 12, he says, "Aren't 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? Yet not one of them is forgotten in God's sight. Indeed, the hairs of your very head are numbered. Please don't be afraid. You are worth far more than many sparrows." God be with you. Bless you.